is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Doctor Who, Season 1, Episode 10, The Doctor Dances. In this episode, lots of people are turning into face mask monsters, and there's a child who doesn't know who his mother is, and bombs are dropping, and there's a man who travels through time, but sure, let's call this episode The Doctor Dances. Welcome to Unspoiled.
You're very hard to please.
I couldn't remember the title at all. And like the last episode, it's called The Empty Child, which is a really good name. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it suits what's happening so much better. And I was like, wow, it's weird that I can't remember the title at all. No, it's not weird, actually, because that title is like the least important part of the entire episode. And happens within the last 5 minutes, and just such a strange thing to focus on for the actual title.
Okay.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Natasha.
I'm Jamie.
I'm having a cup of tea. Forgive me.
I can see what you mean, but I think the significance of him dancing, him like allowing Rose to know him a little bit better and being a little joyful, and I don't know. It's sweet.
Okay. I'll allow it.
And the episode ends on such a happy note. Everyone lives. Just this once.
Yeah, that is a pretty good moment. And I did, like, once he said that, I stopped and I was like, oh, yeah. People die a lot around this guy. It's got to be pretty rough.
There was something in one of the groups. Like, what fictional character would you want to save you or something? And I think I answered the Doctor, and someone was like, people tend to die a lot around him. And I was like, spoiler? Because we hadn't quite started yet.
Well, I assumed that he probably did, since I had this show sort of categorized in the same spirit as Buffy. And in Buffy, it just feels like people are pretty disposable a lot of the time, you know? Like, yeah. Especially other students. Yeah. We have a real, like, high death rate in the student body. In
the pilot, they find a body in the locker room.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. What? Yeah.
One time, Buffy finds her teacher killed in his classroom. I mean...
One time... There's a teacher who's a giant bug.
One time the principal gets eaten by hyena people.
Oh my God.
These are all season 1 things, by the way.
I forgot that he gets eaten. One time the mayor turns into an enormous snake. Yeah, there's a lot. That's that show, man.
Spoilers for Buffy.
Whoops. So, guys, let's talk about the opening of this episode, which starts with the Doctor telling everybody in their face masks that he is very cross and they should go to their rooms. And it works. And he's like, wow, I am really glad that worked, because those would be terrible last words. And that, honestly, like, what I was thinking was just like, God, that sounds so dumb right now, dude, what you're saying. Like, and apparently it's okay, it's working, but like, still. So when he said that, I was like, he kind of read my mind a little bit there. And I like that just the kid goes back to his room. Everybody else just goes and lays back down on their bed. Yeah. Which I guess is their room in their mind. But I am curious how that works, because he is talking to everyone at that point, but it does feel like whether or not they all leave hinges on whether the little boy will leave.
Yeah, they all seem to be connected to him because they're all sort of copies of him.
Yeah.
He's the alpha.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. So, all right, I'm thinking where exactly to start on this one, because we get the boy leaving, like that's the cold open, and then when we come back, we just see, what's the mom's name? As it turns out, spoilers, she's the mom.
Nancy,
and we just see her crying. And what we find out later, as I've said, is that he is her illegitimate child. And she lied and said that he was her brother because it was too scandalous for her to admit that he was her son, because she's really young.
Yeah, she was probably, the doctor guesses, 15 or 16.
Yeah. Which, is not nearly as uncommon a thing as you would think. There are so many people out there who pretend that they were pregnant and that this is their kid because their daughter is not supposed to get knocked up at 14 and 15 years old.
When I was a kid, the neighborhood that I lived in Rhode Island, my dad grew up in that house and my aunts and uncles all grew up in that house. So they knew everybody in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And there was this family down the street, and the daughter was a couple years older than me. And my aunt told me she's actually not their daughter. She's their granddaughter because their older daughter had her very young.
Oh, wow.
And they've been raising her. But I don't know how she knew that, but the little girl didn't know that.
Oh, that's messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one thing if your family knows and the girl doesn't know, but neighbors knowing.
Yeah.
And the child not knowing, that seems very egregious.
Yeah, I think that's just gossip got around the neighborhood,
Yeah.
But somehow I learned this when I was 8 years old.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because gossip, when little kids know gossip, which they're inevitably going to overhear, they don't necessarily understand the emotional weight that packs behind it, and they'll just blurt shit out at each other.
Yeah.
So, somebody on the playground is just yeah, well, your mom's not your real mom, and Jesus, what?
I'm glad that my aunt told me, and I had such a good relationship with her because she's very close in age to me. She's only 9 years older than me. Mm-hmm. So she was my idol. She was a cool teenager and I wanted to be cool too. So I wasn't an asshole kid. So I wasn't running back to that girl and being your sister's actually your mom.
Right.
So maybe I was the only one who knew. I don't know. I just remember that story so clearly. Wow, that's out of a soap opera.
It is, right? Yeah. So, all right. Let's talk about Captain Jack.
I'm always open to talking about Captain Jack.
So he is asked what his original con was supposed to be, and he explains that it was basically get 50% up front, then it gets mysteriously destroyed by a falling bombshell, and then I tell him that, luck is just so random, isn't it? And we go out for drinks and talk about how crazy the world is as I buy drinks with his money, which, is pretty straightforward and did not work. And the doctor is pretty convinced that this thing had something to do with what's going on here, but there is no apparent connection at this point. And Captain Jack is not interested in hearing it. He thinks that the doctor just does not like him for whatever reason and is looking for something to blame on him.
Well, he's not giving the doctor a lot of reasons to initially trust him when he talks about Pompeii is another good place to do this at because, volcano. You just have to set your alarm clock to volcano. He's real cavalier about the whole thing.
Yeah.
And all the doctor can think about is all of his experience of no, there are consequences for things like this. And so he's looking for, this is weird. These people are walking around with these fused gas masks on them and calling out for their mummies. Mm-hmm. That the only thing that's out of place is this thing you brought here.
Right.
And Jack insists that it was empty, which technically kind of was, if you weren't looking for the little nano thingies.
Yeah, it's a little bit frustrating, to be honest, that, like, while I may not know what's going on, I do know well enough that there's one, like, factor that we know of that is alien.
Mm-hmm.
And what is happening to these people is clearly alien. So you may not think there was something harmful in it, but to be, as you put it, so cavalier and just sit back and be like, I know it wasn't me.
Right.
Really? Really? Do you? Because, like, how do you? This is the only possible explanation available. And maybe there are other aliens on the planet messing with shit. I don't know. Maybe there are. But
not right here.
Yeah, we need to go with Occam's razor here, which is the alien thing that we know about is probably the alien thing that did something. So yeah, I was a little irritated with him, just sort of like sitting back and being like, well, who knows? What a mystery, right? Like, dude, guy, come on. And he has a squareness gun also, which is such a weird specific thing, and I like that it's called a squareness gun.
Is that what it's called? I thought he called it a sonic blaster.
He does, but then Rose says nice blast pattern and then says squareness gun, and he says yep. So he doesn't like correct her and say like, oh, no, this is what it's called. He's just, squareness gun. Exactly. Thanks. Which, so now to me, that's its official name. But they are, like, they're trying to figure out where this is coming from, and they go into a room, and I don't even remember exactly what leads them to this room. Do you remember? Because it's the one where they are obviously, like, interrogating / like, trying to understand what's going on with this kid.
Dr. Constantine in the last episode said that when this boy was brought to them, they brought him up to room 802, I believe. Okay. He specifically mentions that that's where he was brought originally. And that this reaction that all these other people turning into these things started from there and worked their way down.
Okay, cool. So they go in and there's lots of drawings of women, stick figures of pen and crayon and everything. And they're listening to a recording of the kid saying,
Mommy,
are you my mommy? And I love that we hear the kids say this like 6 times on this recording. And then finally Rose is like, I've heard these words before. I'm like, Rose, keep up, sweetie. Yeah, we know. And there's a point that they are like talking about the kid, and what he's saying changes, and he's like, can't you see me? I'm right here. And when he says that, I'm like, why is he saying that? And then obviously we find out that he is standing in the room, and what we're hearing is no longer a recording.
Yeah. So
that's pretty intense. He's just right there, and they do that again a little bit later with the typewriter.
Yeah.
But I like that gimmick. Works for me.
I wish that they hadn't shown that the tape had run out. Like, I wish that we were only hearing that sort of tape flapping noise without seeing it. And then we don't have
the doctor actually telling her the tape's run out, and then we...
Yeah.
Gotcha, yeah.
I feel like that would have been just slightly creepier. Like the typewriter, when Nancy's like, well, he's sitting right there. How is that still typing?
Right. Yeah, I think that's fair. All right, so let's talk about Nancy, because she has a weird confrontation with the owner of the house that she was stealing from.
Mm-hmm.
Nancy, girl, you're a little saucy. This dude is talking about how this food was bought by the sweat of his brow, which, if you're trying to make a point, don't use this kind of florid language that's so dramatic, because I really feel like it just undermines your whole point when it's not like he doesn't have any point at all. Yeah, she came into his house and stole stuff. We know that she stole it for a bunch of kids,
Mm-hmm.
and that she's doing something really like worthwhile with it, but he does not know that, and understandably is irritated. And yet he has to say it in this way that immediately makes me go, oh, shut up, you dummy. Sit down. No, nobody wants to hear about this, even though, like, in many ways he's probably right. But then she says something about how it's a lot more food than most people have on their tables, and tells him that the whole neighborhood thinks that his wife is messing about with the butcher. But it's not your wife, is it? It's you. Yeah. And I was like, oh shit. I thought she said, because at first she says, I know you've got plenty of tools in here. So the way that I took it at first was that when she was saying messing about, that she was like saying, you've got a bunch of tools in here because you're breaking into places and stealing food. But I think that you've got plenty of tools in here is a totally like unrelated thing. It's just her talking about how he has plenty of stuff.
Yeah.
And then he's actually having an affair with the butcher.
Yeah, she knows how they're actually getting all of this food. Because this was rationing.
Yep.
So nobody should have had that much food. Nobody should have had a whole ham on their table at dinner time.
Right.
And so everybody thinks that the wife is messing about with the butcher. But Nancy, who is sort of, making her way around the neighborhood trying to find whatever she can to keep these other kids alive, has paid attention to what's actually going on. So she blackmails him.
It's pretty it's a pretty baller move.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah, so she's like, I need wire cutters, a torch, some food, and a trip to the bathroom.
I'd like another look around your kitchen cupboards. I was in a hurry the first time. I want to see if there's anything I missed. Oh, bless.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she gets the one-up on this guy, and it's pretty satisfying. And then we go back to the doctor, who is... when they get confronted with this kid, Jack pulls what he thinks is his sonic gun, but it's a banana because the doctor switched it out.
Yeah, I don't know where the doctor got that banana from, but...
That's my main question, honestly.
I mean, it all goes back to him talking about how he got this gun at this weapons factory on this particular planet, but then something weird happened. The whole place blew up, and the doctor's like, yeah, it totally did, and now there's a banana grove there, because bananas are good. Which implicates that he's the one who blew up the weapons factory and had a banana grove planted there. So, but then I don't know where he got the banana from. Maybe his jacket is also like the TARDIS.
Oh my God. He's got a Mary Poppins jacket?
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. Sure. Let's go with that.
Okay.
So, I love, don't drop the banana. Why? Good source of potassium. Oh, you. Stop it.
Bananas are good.
Bananas are one of those fruits that I'm always just like, whatever. And then I taste something with banana in it, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's pretty good actually.
A few years ago, there was a rumor that bananas might die out because the insects, they had put pesticides to get rid of certain insects, but that led to other insects being able to now destroy banana groves. And I seriously had not a real panic, but oh my God, I can't. How do you live in a world without bananas? It was so tragic an idea to me. I couldn't deal with it. I really love bananas. I was so
do you
sad.
Like stuff with a banana flavoring
No.
in it? I'm always I think that's super gross.
No.
But
real bananas. I love to caramelize bananas and put them on pancakes and waffles. I like to make banana bread.
Hear the way that her voice changed when she started talking about this?
They're so good.
She got that note of food seduction in her voice. Put them on pancakes.
Yeah.
waffles. And...
I made Bananas Foster banana bread once, and it was so good. So yeah, I'd be really sad if bananas went away. That's what I'm saying. I'm with the doctor here.
That's fair. So they use the squareness gun to cut a hole in the wall, get out, and then zap it closed again.
Yeah, what does he call that?
What?
Jack
the squareness gun?
No, he has there's a phrase he says for like making it reverse. Whatever he does, like to make the wall go back to being a wall. I just can't remember what he said it was. It's probably not important, but...
Yeah, I don't remember. And it turns out to not be that useful because this kid can like bash down a wall pretty fucking easily, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why he's super strong, but he is. And they wind up having to use it to cut a hole in the floor and drop down into the next room.
Which is Rose's brilliant idea.
Yeah. And they fall down there and think that, oh, cool, we're safe now. But, you know, they're in a room filled with beds that are each occupied by another person in one of these masks. So they keep running into problems here. And at this point, the batteries on his sonic blaster, whatever, are running out and he cannot use it to get away. And they are on the 7th floor, as it turns out. So they can't actually go, like, out the window, even if he could cut a hole in the wall.
Rose's like, batteries?
Oh my god, I love that. Really? So he sits down and he's in the middle of talking about how, like, he met Rose. She was hanging from a barrage balloon. I had an invisible spaceship. I never stood a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's gone.
Yep.
How does he do this again?
He has a little transporter that can take him back to his ship.
So only he can...
Teleporter. It's an emergency teleporter.
Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for.
God, I could use an emergency teleporter.
Girl, listen. I've always said that if I could pick a superpower, teleportation would be the one.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
Because then I could go anywhere and it'd be quick.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just not a fan of the traveling aspect. But I sure as hell would like to go places.
Yeah.
And also, you know, you forget something at home and you can just dodge right back and boom.
Yeah. It'd be really useful
for me. And I like the idea of, like, you know, if you were a supervillain, you could just rob so many banks. You just teleport right into their safe and then just back out again. Boom, done.
That never occurred to me because I never think in those terms.
Girl, you need to open your mind, expand your horizons.
I am just not a villain.
I could be a villain so easily. It's really like, I'm right on the edge most of the time.
No, like the first thing I think is, God, I could go to Paris right now.
I mean, that's the first thing I think. Don't get me wrong. But then I start to think of like other possibilities and I'm like, oh shit. I could snap my fingers and be in Paris, or I could snap my fingers and have the money to fly first class to Paris.
I would feel too guilty about stealing money.
I wouldn't. Banks, fuck them. Whatever.
I know. I also agree with that. It's a hard way to live.
Anyway, so enough about me being a supervillain. We have Nancy going and finding the kids who have stayed way too long in one place. And she's like simultaneously like glad to have found them. And also like, y'all are not listening to what I told you to do. And one of the kids is trying to type a letter to his dad, even though he does not know where his dad is, nor does he know how to write or read.
Right. I really wanted to see what it said. Like, what were you typing? Just random letters?
Yeah, you know, it's like, and the kid is like, you know, at least 12 years old, I think. So what, he was just not in school before this either?
I think he was a little younger than that, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I thought that was just kind of a weird thing.
Was school not... Was it not available to everybody? Like, was it not public school in England?
I honestly don't know, like, how that worked then.
Yeah. Because I know they had children working in factories for a really long time.
That's true. It's an unfortunate fact.
I mean, we did too, but...
Yes. So she's trying to explain to the oldest of them that, like, if something happens to me, which it very well might, you need to be up to taking my spot because there's nobody else that's going to be able to look after these kids. And if you're not willing to do the things that I ask you to do to keep everybody safe, and you're just sitting here waiting for me, you're sitting ducks. And this is, you know, I understand that you want to give me the opportunity to catch up with you guys again, but it's not the smart thing to do for everybody, and you need to make those decisions sometimes. So she's in the middle of explaining this, and then it's like, so I'm going to leave and go and try and find my brother. And she's explaining that whenever they get chased by him, he's not chasing them, he's chasing her.
Yeah.
And all of them are just kind of like, wait, that's not true. What are you talking about? And she's like, as long as I'm with you, you guys are going to be in danger. And they continue to try and argue with her. And then she says, all right, well then tell me this. Who's on the typewriter? And it's typing by itself, and it just says, are you my mummy? Over and over and over again.
Yeah. Mostly mummy.
I'm looking at the type above, because you were asking what that kid was typing.
Mm-hmm.
And it is jumbles of random letters with random spacing. So that's pretty amazing, actually. And back to Cap'n Jack.
You say Captain like it's Captain Crunch.
Captain. If I say Captain Jack, it just makes me want to say Sparrow.
Right.
So if I say Cap'n Jack, it seems like it's much more self-contained of a title. And I'm not as tempted to add Sparrow to the end.
Okay. That's fair.
So he is explaining like that he can tap into the comm systems, and the doctor is like, oh, that's interesting because so can this kid. And as he's saying that, the kid does indeed tap in, and Jack just kind of like, what's the word I want?
He blocks the signal.
Blocks it. Thank you. There it is. Super complicated word there. Blocks. With Moonlight Serenade, which Rose says is our song.
Yep.
And I just wanted to smack her in the back of the head. So bad.
She's really taken by this handsome man. I love that the doctor at one point is like, where'd you find him? Mm-hmm. And she's like, hey. But like, is he wrong to ask that question, though?
Nope. Listen, the last guy that she tried to tag along with them wound up fucking everything up so badly that they almost died.
And then he was left with a hinge in his head, record. So...
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Her instincts aren't always great.
No. And this, like... this whole, the way that this goes down, I understand how taken she is with him. But, like, as charming as the man may be, he's not a good guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's just not a very good person. So she keeps on, like, kind of getting on the doctor's case. And, like, obviously the doctor's jealous. Which, she calls it a case of captain envy. And I'm like, Rose, honey, you've got to know that's not what it is, right?
Do you feel like this is coming out of nowhere?
A little, yeah.
Me too.
Like, they've had it going on for a few episodes now that obviously the doctor's, like, super into Rose. And I just, like... He doesn't seem like somebody who would get attached to people very easily or quickly in terms of his personality. So the jealousy and possessiveness that he's feeling about her feels out of character from what we've seen of him dealing with everything else so far.
Yeah.
You know,
because
he tends to be pretty dispassionate.
That kind of jealousy comes from a place of, like, love or romantic feelings. Mm-hmm. And I I never felt like at this point that the Doctor was showing any kind of romantic feelings for her. So it really felt like it was pushing it a little bit for me. Like, yeah. I could understand him being irritated that she picked up another stray. Mm-hmm. We don't need a stray dog. We just got rid of the last stray dog.
Yeah.
But to be, like, jealous that they were dancing and that kind of thing, I was like, really? Where's this coming from?
Yeah, this feels like a case of shows of a certain age that don't know what to do with male and female characters who are hanging out together.
Yeah.
You know, like, they just have to make them be a potential couple because they just don't know how to function plot-wise if they aren't together. And, you know, having him be sort of like, just like a I don't want to say paternal figure, but just somebody who's, like you said, irritated with her picking up strays again. You could do some interesting things with that.
Yeah.
And have him be a really fun foil on some... So this just feels like a really unimaginative direction to take it.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like it was earned on his part. Like, I could see her maybe being jealous if he were paying attention to another woman.
Mm-hmm. That would be a lot more understandable in a lot of ways.
Like, not because I think that Rose is, like, harboring any romantic feelings for him either, but because she has sort of attached herself to him. Mm-hmm. So that kind of blows up her spot a little bit if he's... Like, when he was paying attention to the tree lady.
Right.
She had, like, little moments of... It seemed like she was a little jealous. But it was all very new, too. So I think it was also maybe a little bit of abandonment. Like, you're going to go off with this one? You're just going to leave me here when they're going to blow up the sun?
First day, yeah.
But him being jealous of Jack just never... It never felt in character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. And it's the sort of thing that, like... I don't like it. I don't think it's well done. But it also doesn't bother me very much because I feel like this is just such a thing on so many shows and books. And I you know me. Romance is always like the thing that I'm the least interested in whatever I'm covering because it is rarely done well. When it is, I'm all about it. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I don't like romance. It's just mostly it's trash.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to move the plot along by having people suddenly care about someone in a very specific way, as if being friends with someone isn't enough. You have to be in love with them. You have to be having sex with them for you to, like, make certain sacrifices or to care enough to, you know, put everything on the line.
Right.
So it just, when this began to, like, crop up in earlier episodes, as much as I was like, oh, really? I don't want this. I was also like, yeah, but that's what they do, though.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's why I get irritated when people... This is completely not about Doctor Who, but when people ship Captain America and Black Widow. And I'm like, are you not watching the same movies I'm watching? Because they are, like, best friends. Mm-hmm. They, like, have each other's backs. And that's why I like them as a pairing. Not a romantic pairing, but, like... They're not going to let anything happen to each other. Why you have to make it about sex? Because it's not.
Agreed.
And I think
and
they're
also,
really...
the two of them, their personality, they don't have the same values. Like,
right.
What are you talking about?
It doesn't make sense.
This is not the Avengers show, even though it should be a little bit. All right. So, yeah, there's that this is our song thing. And I'm like, girl... You just don't get to call shit your song when you met this guy an hour ago, which has been maybe an hour. Like,
although, if you danced on a invisible ship with somebody dashing, wouldn't you kind of feel like, it's our song?
Not if I found out that he was trying to con me the whole time. No, I would not. In fact, I would have responded by smashing that speaker probably in a very unsmart move because we need it to communicate.
Yeah, I'm a sap, so... I also am very prone to, oh, he's so pretty, though.
All right. So, oh, right. I forgot about this. So Nancy tries to sneak into a restricted area. Spoilers, she gets caught. And they lock her up. And they lock her up right near a guy who is turning into the thing.
Gas mask monster.
I hate how long it takes. Because it's bad enough turning into the thing. But the fact that she says to him, you feel like you're going to throw up, like something is being forced down up your throat.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, God, that's like so much worse.
Yeah.
It's already terrible, but Jesus Christ, you know? So it's like really drawn out once he finally starts to transform. It takes so long. And we don't actually see it with him. We see it with somebody else later.
Mm-hmm.
But it's spreading quickly and has escaped the containment room that they had set up there.
Well, they're right next to the thing.
Right.
They're right next to the ambulance. So the little nano-genes are making their way out, I guess.
Woohoo. Party.
But the next thing we see... What?
Sorry, I was just going to say the conversation between Rose and the doctor where he says, like, you just assume that I can't dance. And I just love that petulance. Like, it turns out he can't.
I'm 900 years old. You haven't seen all my moves.
Oh, man. I really like... I'm not into the two of them in the way that they're doing this, but I just really enjoy this dude, even though he is unlikable. He really isn't a nice guy, but I really still like him anyway. And I don't know what that says about me.
Well,
but yeah, I'm drawn to him.
He's not a bad guy. He's curmudgeonly.
No. I guess I do like curmudgeon types because I like Owen. And like...
He is an old man in a young man's body.
He really is. Like, guys, I know that that's something that you can say about people and it's like meant to indicate that he's just like crotchety. But with Owen, it's more than that. He really just wants to be 85 and sitting on the porch smoking. And that's all he wants.
I can see it too. Just get him a cardigan, a little bowl of sugar-free candies.
Oh my God. He fucking would too.
A pipe.
Yeah, he owns a pipe. Listen, Jamie, he owns 2 pipes, one of which is indeed a corn cob
Oh
pipe.
my God.
Yes, he does. So, and he has several sweater vests. And like he just... His whole jam, man, he's going to make a great old man. And I'm not like, sometimes I'll think about the fact that someday I'm going to be old. And I worry about still being attractive and, you know, the whole thing. And I said to him at one point, like, babe, when I'm old, are you still going to think that I'm sexy? And he went, sweetie, no. And you won't think I am either. It'll be fine. It's like, I don't know how to respond to that at all.
That is maybe the best response I've ever heard.
So yeah, that's how that went.
God, he should write for sitcoms or something. It's really funny.
Yeah, he is pretty funny. Okay. All right. So I'm sorry. I cut you off to talk about this dancing thing and you had been about to say something.
It made me cry a little bit. Hold on. I have to.
She was so touched.
No,
guys.
It made me laugh so hard. My eyes watered. I was going to talk about when Rose and the doctor and Jack see these guards and Jack's like, oh, I know Algie. And Rose is like, well, I'll just go and talk to him and, you know, show him a little bit of this. And he's like, you're not as safe. And then he goes and the doctor's like, well, you know, in the 51st century, people are a little more flexible about who they dance with.
That's true, huh? I forgot about that whole thing.
So Jack is very flexible in that way, which I appreciate being on a show that's for kids.
That reminds me of that meme that I posted today. Did you see that? It's a guy in the street going up to another with a microphone and going, "Sir, how many genders are there?" And the man replies, "I don't know. I just got here." Which I think feels like really right for this show, because you just assume, like, you know, you're landing on different planets at different times, and somebody's, I don't know, I just got here. Like, how the fuck should I know? But yeah, that is a good point, that it's, you know, a show that's like much more geared towards family.
Yeah.
And they're putting that in there.
Yeah, and they're being really, really open about it, and Jack's not hiding, like, it's okay, I'll go take care of this. And, like, walks up to him to be like, oh, hey, remember me?
What's up? And it doesn't go well, though.
No.
Spoiler alert.
Because he's having a gas mask shoved out of his face.
I thought you were going to say that he's having a gas mask attack.
I wish I had.
That is kind of what it seems like for a second. But it is a pretty, like, creepy sideways view of it, too.
Yeah.
That was unpleasant.
They got their money's worth on that effect, for sure.
They did. It's helpful, I think, too, that it's, like, something that has perfectly round features on it.
Yeah.
So that it looks all the more unnatural happening to a human face, because it's just not shapes that we're supposed to have on our face. But at that point, Rose and the doctor run up and see him, like, collapse. And she says, "What's keeping us safe?" And the doctor says, "Nothing." Meanwhile, in the room that Nancy is locked up with this guy in, he has turned into one of them as well. I'm not entirely sure, because we have a little boy walking around, but all the other people, once they have the gas mask, they just collapse into, like, stillness. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure why that is. And they're not still, like, active the way that the little boy is.
I'm not sure either, to be honest.
But they clearly are linked, because they'll say, like, "Are you my mummy?" the same way. Mm-hmm. If there's somebody near them, like, prodding them to speak at all. But otherwise, they're not sitting in their beds, like, saying, "Are you my mummy?" when there's nobody around.
Yeah, they're just sort of in stasis.
Yeah. Until the moment, apparently, when the boy, like, summons them.
Yeah. Somehow,
and they all stand up. So a lot of this is kind of unclear. It's like they're his secret army in a way as well. But Nancy is here, having run out of the place where she was locked up because she stole the keys off of the guy.
No, the doctor, like, used his sonic screwdriver and broke her.
He did?
Handcuffs, yeah. Because he hears her singing a lullaby.
Hold on, I'm going back. Down will come baby, cradle and all. Oh, yeah, you're right. I totally thought that she had, like, gotten the keys from him. How did I miss this? I watched this episode 2 times. But yeah, he has, like, he has figured out that it's the nano-genes. Mm-hmm. And and Captain Jack is like, "Fuck, really?" And he's like, "Yeah, they found the dead boy. They fixed him, quote unquote. And then every human being that they encountered after him, they thought was imperfect because they didn't have the mask and whatnot on their faces the way that he did.
Because they'd never seen a normal living human being before, so that was their only reference.
Because this thing is what came down on him, not a bomb.
Yeah.
So he was right there. And so, yeah, it's going around, and, like, every single human it encounters, it thinks that it is, like, sick because it doesn't have one of these, and puts it on them, which is a pretty wild idea. And what they manage to do here is they get, like, they uncover the capsule And they use the mother, once she is revealed to be his mother, as the baseline. And the nano-genes, like, she is standing there and touches him, and the nano-genes sense her DNA is the same as the little boy's, but that she is healthy, and they realize the mistake and undo it on the boy, which winds up transmitting when the doctor, like, sends his mass email, as he puts it, to everyone else, and the nano-genes undo what they did with everybody else as well. And a little extra.
Yeah.
As we find out. Because that is definitely a woman who had one leg that now has both legs, and the doctor just tries to tell her that maybe she miscounted. Which is pretty great. I like that not only does nobody die, but somebody gets a leg back. So that's a net bonus. That's we're on the positive. We're plussing here.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. You know? So
Then what do they do with the nano-genes and the ambulance afterwards? They never really show us, do they?
that, like, this is part of what I was wondering, because he just sends them out and, like, you know, kind of flings his hands, and they go out there with this like shower of sparks kind of looking thing, and you don't see them return to him, do they? Do you? Hold on, I'm watching the moment right here. Recognizing the same DNA, he gets fixed, and the doctor can pull his mask off. Does he collect them again, though? Oh yeah, there's a little container.
Oh, there is?
I think, yeah. Hold on, I'm watching that exact moment again. Is there? Oh, this is so slow moving. Sorry.
I don't remember.
It looks like they just disappear.
Yeah. I don't remember them being, like, collected back. But then...
So are they still, like, out in the world just fixing people? Because that'd be pretty rad if all of a sudden there was just a rash of people getting, like, healed because of these things. You know, like...
Yeah, I don't know. It's a dropped thread.
Yeah, no, there's not... Nope. The thing that I thought was him holding a container is him holding the gas mask that he took off of the kid. So yeah, I don't know if there's any means of getting them back at all. Like,
because immediately after that is when an actual bomb is gonna drop.
Right.
And
because that's
Jack catches it in his tractor beam.
His tractor beam. Yeah, that's true. That is what he calls it, huh?
I think so.
There's a weird, like, effect, too, of, like, a house up on a hill behind this whole thing that just looks, like, so out of place every time the camera pulls back to look at the scene as a whole.
Really?
The proportions of the house in the background don't work with as far away as it's supposed to be. So I keep being distracted because it really looks like there's a house in midair floating, like, above the scene.
I didn't notice that at all.
I'm going to screenshot this and send you so that you can see what I'm talking about, because it's just really, like, distracting every time the camera pulls back. And I'm not really sure why, like, I guess that building is supposed to be the infirmary that they were just in.
Oh, maybe the hospital.
But yeah, but Jack says something about how they were on the 7th floor, and that place doesn't look like it has 7 floors. So I don't know. It looks like it's got like 3. But I'm going to send it to you in Skype. Hold on.
Okay.
Doop, 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 boop. And yeah, so Jack has this bomb that he has to go and dispose of, and it turns out that he can't. And he's like, well, how about we put it in an escape pod? There is no escape pod on board. Ah, I understand the problem. I'll get in the escape pod. There is no escape pod on board. I really liked that moment.
So he has a martini.
Yeah, which, you know what? Solid choice. Martinis are banging. I love gin. I I'm watching the moment where the doctor sends all of the nano-gene sparks at the people, and he gets so excited that everybody lives just this once. Everybody lives.
Yep.
It's pretty sweet. Like, he just looks so thrilled.
Yeah.
Dr. Constantine, back on your feet, constant doctor. Just like, does that even count as a joke? I'm not even sure what that falls under. But the too much vermouth. See if I ever come here again.
I agree with that. Too much vermouth can really ruin a martini.
It's true, though. Did you see the second Kingsman movie?
Yes.
Do you remember that joke where he's talking about how, and please shake it while looking at a bottle of vermouth?
I
don't add any. Just look at the bottle, please.
I don't remember that, but that's pretty good.
It's pretty good. I guess that the doctor's blowing up the thing that the nanogenes just automatically return. It says the nanogenes will return to the site and switch themselves off just because I told them to.
Okay.
Which I'm not really sure. Like, okay, sure.
Sure.
Seems like a shame though, because they're so helpful. Like, just let them just roam around a little and do some stuff. You know, now they've figured it out.
It could lead to superhumans or something.
What's wrong with that? That's fine.
Depends on who becomes a superhuman.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so
Jack's basically accepting that this is it for him. He's gonna die. And then the door opens.
Da, 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 da.
And he's invited onto the TARDIS.
I don't know what to think of this. Like, because, you know, the last guy that got invited on lasted one episode and fucked up real bad. So I'm trying to predict whether or not, like, he's going to be a serious addition that lasts a while, or if he's going to be... Oh my God, I forgot about this. I ordered 4 hyper vodkas for my breakfast. All a bit of a blur after that. Woke up in bed with both my executioners. Lovely couple. They stayed in touch. That's pretty good. That's a good time. I forgot all about it. Can't say that about most executioners. But yeah, I wonder if he's like going to do something to either fuck up, or if he's going to try and get away on his own again, like he doesn't maybe want to be with the two of them, or if the doctor's gonna be like such an asshole to him that he's like, yeah, you know what, clearly I'm not really wanted here, so I'm just gonna take off. Or another thing,
or he becomes part of the team.
Yeah. I'm not familiar enough, like, you know, I've seen some memes and some spoilery, like, stuff that I've mentioned when we started, but I haven't seen a lot about, I don't think about Eccleston specifically. Like, I've seen, like, stills from David Tennant, like, you know, the meme of him crying in the rain.
Sure.
Sort of thing. Where I get a little bit more of like a vague sense of like, well, these are the people that'll be here for this. But I don't have anything for this early on. So I don't know if he is around or not. So I'm interested to see how that works out.
Okay.
If it does. Because the doctor does not like him. He comes in and says, well, it's much bigger on the inside. You better be. Well, shit.
I think
that was fucking pointed.
I don't think he completely dislikes him, because in the end, Jack did do the right thing. Mm-hmm. You know, he took this bomb. He knew he was going to die because of it. And when Rose asks the doctor, like, well, what's going to happen to Jack? And you kind of see on the doctor's face, like, well, nothing good. Mm-hmm. That's a bomb.
Yeah.
That the decision was made to go and save him. I don't think that, I mean, he probably would still do it even if he hated the guy because the doctor saves people. But I don't think that he would be like, welcome aboard, we're dancing, you know?
Yeah.
So I get the feeling that he's got a tiny bit of respect for Jack. Just a little. Probably about as much as he has for Mickey.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, and the like Jack comes on and you know, him and Rose are holding hands and beaming. And the doctor says something like, "Oh, I just realized something. I can dance."
Yeah, and he starts to do like the jitterbug or something.
Something like that. And Rose is like, "I think that Jack was saying he would like this dance." And the doctor says, "I'm sure he would, Rose. I'm absolutely certain. But who with?" Which I thought he meant like that he was going to grab Jack's hand and start dancing with him.
I think he's just saying, which one of us does Jack actually want to dance with? Or maybe both of us.
I really wanted him to grab Jack's hand and dance with Jack instead.
That would have been great.
It's not in character at all. It doesn't really make any sense considering how he was treating Jack a second ago. But I still really wanted that to happen. But yeah, indeed. Rose jumps up there and they dance together while Jack looks on from the sidelines, obviously itching to be dancing. Poor Jack. He obviously wants so badly to be doing this, and he's the third wheel, and he hates it so much. And I feel for him a lot on that point. But yeah, he's able to, like, the doctor's able to do the whole deal, including, like, the dip at the end, a real deep back dip. Mm-hmm. It's pretty good.
You know, she used to be a pop star.
I did not know that.
So I'm guessing she knows how to dance. It's hard to tell in this scene and with those Doc Martens. But yeah, she was like a pop star.
Good God. It's so weird.
I have not broken down and actually looked up any of her pop music because I'm terrified that it's going to be like Robin Sparkles or something.
Please, somebody in the patrons group, post a link to her pop music. I deeply want to know.
I think now I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, I think I could handle it. But back when I was first watching the show and I just loved her dearly and didn't want to know that there was anything like, oh, shitty music in her background. But now I'm okay because I still love her. I love Billie Piper, but I can also accept that like she was a teenage pop star. It's okay.
I just, you know what? The paths we all take are just wild, and I can't judge anybody.
Yeah.
Like, I keep Bronn from Game of Thrones. Remember?
Yeah.
His whole thing? Oh my God.
Well, he was like a punk musician, right? It
was not like, what I remember was that he was like bad 80s band.
Really?
Like electronic type. Yeah.
Because I know he can actually sing.
But I really do not know how. I really don't think I watched a video of him singing or like found out, because just the stills of the video were so painfully cringeworthy.
God, how have I
couldn't
not
make myself
seen
do
these?
It. Oh my God, I gotta find that for you at some point. I'll send it to you.
Yeah. Yeah, because didn't he and Lena Headey, didn't they have like a thing back in the day?
Did they?
I think they did, and I think
you better stop telling tales out of school, man, because I think it's gonna have far-reaching consequences.
I think they did, and then like they don't get along now, so that's why you don't see a lot of Bronn and Cersei scenes. That's the rumor I've heard.
Can you imagine, like, having formerly been as successful as Lena Headey was compared to this guy that nobody knew who he was until Game of Thrones? But now you're both, like, as well known as the other in some ways because of this one. Like, I'd be so fucking bitter, you know? Oh, God.
Gosh, she's so great, too.
Yeah, she is. Yeah. All right, so that's the end of the episode, is him dipping Rose and the Captain Jack looking vaguely like, all right, well, good job, I guess, you dick. Which is pretty good. Is there anything that you wanted to add on this one?
About the episode? No.
All right. Well,
I know that this episode is one of the ones that people hold in really high regard this season. It's one that people always talked about, and I think when I first binged it, I may have fallen asleep watching this episode, so I didn't remember it really well at first. And on rewatches, I was like, I got it, but at first, when people were like, "Oh yeah, and the doctor dances," and I was like, I don't remember anything about that episode. That's because I fell asleep.
Because the title of it is The Doctor Dances, Jamie, which does not indicate anything to remind you what it's about.
That is true.
Listen. Don't get me wrong, is this the worst in terms of titles that don't really make sense for the content? Absolutely fucking not. Have you all watched a show called Hannibal? Which had titles that were so convoluted that I had to practice saying them before I started.
They were
my intro.
all types of food.
In the first season.
In the second season, too.
First season.
They were Japanese food names.
Oh, right. Japanese food names, which was tricky, but not as bad. It was the third season where they started to get into fucking, like, titles of different artworks in different languages.
Oh, did they? God, I can't remember.
That had no bearing on anything as far as I could tell. One of them, there were 2 episodes in a row, and one of them was like, The Woman with Arms Full of Sun. And the second episode was, right after that was called The Woman with Sun in Her Arms.
Oh.
Fucking, why would you do that, though?
Wasn't the third season, weren't they all lines from a poem?
Maybe. I don't know,
because that season was all about that painting. What was it, Joseph Blake? No, that's a character from a TV show. I don't know.
I love when I say things thinking that it's a historical figure and it turns out to be a fictional character from some shit that I covered. I've done that
I'm pretty sure that's a character from Man in the High Castle.
Oh, that's pretty good. John Blake, you're right. It is. It's the guy.
Oh, was I right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure that's his name because it was real boring.
Well, do you want to hear some reviews that we got?
Yeah, please do that.
Okay. The first one is, yes, please, 5 stars by Love Me, Love My Books from the UK and Great Britain and Northern Ireland. They're from one of those places. I've been listening to Unspoiled shows for a couple of years now and watching Doctor Who for significantly longer than that, so it's rather thrilling to see 2 of my favorite things coming together, like the Doctor and his TARDIS. Do you like discussions that are funny, intelligent, wide-ranging, and occasionally a little weird? Then this is the Doctor Who podcast for you. That one made me laugh.
Wide-ranging is a real diplomatic way of saying tangenty as fuck.
That's
what I'm going to say instead from now on.
I liked the occasionally a little weird part. Because, yeah.
Moi? I don't know what you mean.
The next one is from the Where Dear Cometh, who's left lots of reviews for Unspoiled shows. Another great addition to my favorite podcast network, 5 stars. So glad y'all decided to cover Doctor Who. He said it was one of the first shows I ever developed an obsession with back when I was in middle school, and it was airing on sci-fi. I don't even remember that ever. I'm excited for Natasha to experience such an iconic and beloved series. I'm a serious 9th Doctor stan, so I'm particularly enjoying these first episodes and how Natasha is reacting to them. Shout out to Jamie for being awesome and the perfect co-host for the show. You guys are the best. Keep it up. Thank you.
I should mention that there was somebody at the convention I went to last weekend, LostCon, and I mentioned that you were baffled at me having a thing for Christopher Eccleston, and there was a woman in the audience who went, "I get it." And I was like, "Thank you, anonymous woman. I appreciate it."
I mean, yeah, no. I think he's fine. I just don't find him attractive.
Yeah, he is fine.
He's got such a weird face.
He's got a neck on him. I like it.
Did you see that guy who got arrested in Florida, I think?
Oh, my God, yes.
I almost sent it to you just because I wanted to be like, no, that's a neck.
That guy has, like, some sort of disorder that causes his neck to swell or something.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Then I feel bad that people are making fun of him on the internet.
I know. It was revealed, like, far after the meme had completely caught fire, that it was, like, a kind of genetic disorder.
Aww.
And so, yeah, there's a lot of people out there who are like, can we not do this anymore? And I'm like, oh, man, there's no putting that back in the box.
Yeah.
Like, once something like that catches on.
Well, now I feel really bad.
Well, it's not, you did not know.
I did not know. I also didn't spread that around. I saw something and was like, oh, my God, that guy has a giant neck. Natasha should see this.
I saw it on a post from a friend, and Rashawn had already commented on it, and at that point I didn't know what was going on, and I was just like, what in the hell is going on here? And Rashawn said something, I don't even remember what it was, about how he really, you know what, I'm not even going to try and paraphrase this joke because it's not going to work. You know how that goes?
Yep.
You're like, oh, this is really funny, let me try and remember it, and then like your limp, pathetic retelling of it is just such a let down, and everybody's standing there waiting for the part that's going to make them laugh, and you're like, but that was the part right there that I just, all right, never mind.
I usually like halfway through I'm like, you know what, never mind.
Yeah.
Forget it. I'm never gonna tell it right. Forget it.
I take it all back.
Yeah. The last review we got is another 5 stars by S01E10, says it's amazing. I've fallen behind and a little out of the Doctor Who loop in recent years, but Natasha and Jamie's analysis of the series is completely energizing and wonderful as always. I look forward to each week's episode. Yay! Thanks, guys, for the reviews. It makes me so excited when I get an email that we've gotten a review.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm always really excited when a show is as new as this one is and is already getting that kind of support.
Yeah.
Which is becoming more and more common as Unspoiled gets bigger and bigger.
True.
So
it also,
thank you guys a lot.
Yes, thank you. It helps when you cover shows that are popular too, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
The only thing of trivia I found about this was that there's a comic that takes place soon, if not immediately after the events of this story, called Weapons of Past Destruction, which I think is a really clever title.
Wait, say it again?
Weapons of Past Destruction.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I like that.
But I haven't read it, and I didn't really look into it to see if it covers anything that happens in this episode. But it is possible that some of that, like, nano-gene, what happened to this thing questions were answered in that comic.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, the nano-genes are a wild idea. I just want them to, like, rain them down on everybody across the world and just fix it all.
Yeah, that would have to backfire in some way. That stuff never goes as planned.
It's true. All right. Well, guys, thank you for bearing with us when we were gone for the weekend because of Thanksgiving and me being away. Mm-hmm. I hope that you all had a lovely holiday if you celebrate Thanksgiving, if you are American. If you're not American, congratulations.
Right? Good on you.
And yeah, I'm starting to get into this, so I'm excited to see that people are listening. Guys, I don't want to let you down. I don't think I'm gonna, but
I don't think you're gonna.
I get worried about it. So thank you, Jamie, for being here this evening.
My pleasure.
Appreciate you. And we will see you next week with a new episode. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.